What's going on, my fellow A-plusers? Welcome back once again to a brand new video. It is I, your host, as always, Adam Perez, certainly coming through, ladies and gentlemen, as today is the day where we get the opportunity to sit down and discuss Zack Snyder's Justice League. Wind up dropping on HBO Max on March 18th, this past Thursday, and it's kind of taking the world by storm, man. Twitter blew up all week long. People have been talking about it everywhere. I've been looking, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. This movie has been everywhere. So the 4-hour epic film of Justice League has dropped. If you guys have had the opportunity to check it out, we would love for you guys to certainly join us for discussion, or at least just listen to certainly some of the things that we definitely will be talking about today in regards to just the pros, the cons, the things we love, the things that we hated, whatever the case certainly might be, as we go ahead and bring in Zack Snyder's vision of the DCEU here in Justice League. But it's not just me today. No. Today we in fact do have the entire crew here. I'm going to go ahead and talk some Justice League with you. So what's up, fellas? Good to see everybody.
Hey, good to be back. Glad to be talking about Justice League.
I know we dabbled a little bit about it in earlier this afternoon in A+ Hero Report, but now that we do have the whole entire gang here, it's time to go ahead and get into the nitty gritty of this, man. You guys know how excited I've been for this movie to certainly drop. I'm definitely have been a big supporter of Zack Snyder and just his vision that we've gotten so far when it comes to the DCEU. Man of Steel for me at least is up there with one of my favorite superhero comics. Batman versus Superman, while certainly wasn't the best film, I certainly enjoyed it for what it was. But I've always been wanting to see what Zack Snyder had up his sleeve when it comes to Justice League. So for me, it was really great to be able to kind of see what his vision certainly was in regards to this. What was your build-up for this, guys? Were you super thrilled or excited to see it for the first time, or what?
For me, having not seen the original Justice League in so long, I was hyped because I couldn't remember how bad the old movie was.
The movie was, yeah.
Until I tried to watch it afterwards and couldn't make it through like the first 10 minutes. I was like, nah, I'm straight. But yeah, the hype for me was the weekend in general with just Justice League on Thursday, Winter Soldier on Friday. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so, it was a great weekend.
It was an amazing weekend. And hey, Zack Snyder has fully redeemed himself in my eyes. I couldn't get used to the cut of the film. You know what I'm saying? I bought a 65-inch TV for a reason. To only be using like 20 inches of it was pissing me off. So I literally just went to watching it on my phone because it just looked better.
It fits better, yeah.
Yeah, fitting on my phone. So I watched it there. But man, I was hyped and I enjoyed every single minute of it.
That's funny you bring that up about the ratio, because the girlfriend wanted to watch it. So we started watching at least some of it yesterday. And I remember when it first started, she says, wait, is this supposed to look like that? I was like, yeah, it's supposed to come like that. Because I think it's meant to fit the IMAX screen, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, which would have been fine if the movie was released in IMAX, but it wasn't.
Has it not been released? Like, is HBO Max not doing like a simul thing?
Not that I know of. As far as I know, this movie is just straight to HBO Max.
Bummer.
I do know that the Portage IMAX is actually where I stay at. It's under new management, and they plan on opening up by showing this movie on IMAX.
Oh wow! Okay,
that's freaking genius.
So, but they also supposed to have some new technology. I don't think it's like new technology. I think they're just taking liberty to stuff that's already there. Like they're supposedly supposed to be doing like the HBO, they're doing WandaVision like all the way through. Like you get to go and you can watch WandaVision on the big screen all the way through. Wow. They're doing the same with like Godzilla versus, like the movies that a lot of them aren't going to be in theaters or tried to be in theaters with HBO Max too. But like I just thought it was a real cool idea for them to reopen and then be like, hey, if you want to come check out Justice League, Zack Snyder's cut, you know what I'm saying, come to the theater, see it, and they're charging reduced prices.
Oh, that's not bad, man. I didn't know that they were pulling that out. I'm surprised that Warner Brothers is allowing them to do it, but I guess if they made some type of deal, why not? I think that's a great way to open up a movie theater.
Well, I think it's just, as long as they're paying their HBO Max subscription, I don't think they got an issue with it. Like they should be able to do it.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
More money in Warner Brothers' pockets, so why not?
Yeah.
Man. All right, guys. Well, let's get into it. And Stuart, what about you, man? Leading up to it, I know you weren't the biggest fan per se of Man of Steel or Batman versus Superman, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm fascinated as to what your like entry level into this movie was. Like, what was your excitement level?
You know, there was that bit of hope I had because, believe it or not, there was a period of time where I liked Zack Snyder, because I really liked the movie 300, and then I absolutely loved Watchmen. So, there was a bit of me that had that hope that, we might get that version of Zack Snyder back again with his, Snyder cut. But then I feel like a little bit afterwards, after I'm thinking about it, so after the really good trailer that we got, which I still think that first trailer that they released for DC Fandom, I think that was a great trailer. But
yeah, I do like that one.
I feel like after that hype kind of died down with me, I then kind of like had to talk to myself about this, like thinking, oh, hey, remember, this is the same dude that thought Jesse Eisenberg was a good choice for Lex Luthor. So maybe don't get your hopes too high up for this film. So I feel like over time my hype kind of died down, like as we were building anticipation for this film.
Right.
But now actually seeing it again, like, all the way through, being able to see this 4-hour cut, I was so happy. It's like finally a Zack Snyder movie I like again. It really surprised me because this is coming from a guy that didn't like Man of Steel. I didn't hate Man of Steel. I should point that out. Not a fan of it, but I didn't hate it. But that said, I also think Dawn of Justice, to me, is one of the worst written films I've ever seen. So, yeah, going into Justice League, I had some worries, but I also did. More than anything, even if it was bad, I was still glad we got this movie to begin with because, again, the way Warner Brothers fired him and then had this false narrative that he stepped down and he himself chose Joss Whedon to take over the film, I think that was incredibly douchey on Warner Brothers' part. So this is a really nice gesture for them to at least allow him to finish his vision, finish telling this, really epic story.
And a great send off for his daughter too. I mean, at the end, for Autumn moment that you get at the very end of the film, really hit me, man. Because I think sometimes it's easier for us to forget why sometimes these filmmakers do these movies, or what happened to Zack Snyder during all the other executive and behind the scenes turmoil that went on. He still had to deal and grieve with the loss of his daughter and stuff, so I think him putting in that moment for his daughter, I thought was super impactful and really hit me. I thought it just felt like a nice icing on the cake, if you will, to finally having his vision told and for the right reasons. So I really enjoyed that.
Yo, Dawn of Justice has to be the corniest tagline for a movie too ever. Because I
wasn't big. Batman versus Superman, I felt probably would have been fine, right? But why you got Dawn of Justice was kind of cheesy.
There was nothing about that movie that said Dawn of Justice. Like, you watching it like, oh, look, we got newspaper clippings. There might be a Justice League. Nah, that didn't work. That didn't work at all. I kind of want Zack Snyder to go back and redo Batman versus Superman. Like, just
another cut, an additional cut.
Yeah, like retcon it. Like just let him do a retcon of everything. Just go back and retcon the entire DC, the DCEU.
I will say this: I am fascinated as to whether or not the success of something like this, and I hope HBO Max comes out and talks about it maybe this week about just the viewership that this movie wind up getting. There's been a big push for David Ayer's cut of Suicide Squad. I am wondering if HBO Max will look at this and be like, you know what, maybe we should put some money towards David Ayer and see if we can get that one also, unless they just want to leave that stuff alone. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe it opens up a Pandora's box they don't want to go down.
The problem with that, they would have to be careful not to hype it up. And I say that not because I think it would suck, but because it's not. This was a completely different film from what we got from Justice League. The David Ayer cut, it's not like there's like hours of footage that have gone unused for the movie. It's not like the version we got was that much different. What happened is there were a few scenes with Jared Leto's Joker that were taken out, but for the most part, it's not going to. The overall film isn't going to change. So I feel like that's going to be one where fans would go into the Ayer cut and be like, oh, this is going to be great. We get the good version of Suicide Squad. And then they're going to see, for the most part, the same exact. Oh, Am I frozen? No.
Oh no, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, they're going to see mostly the same exact movie, but it's going to be slightly extended. So
I always thought there was a different villain that he had chose, and I thought the studios made him change the villain, but maybe I'm wrong though.
I mean, if they did, it was they changed it while working on it. It wasn't like it's not something that you could really change without like reshooting an entire film, essentially, if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, it's something that could probably save Jared Leto's Joker. Maybe Leto's like, save my character, please.
I mean, you know, they brought him back for this one for some additional nightmare sequences that we wind up getting towards the very end, which is interesting because I felt like they definitely have been pushing the return of Jared Leto, and I just remember looking down at the timer of this movie and I'm like 3 minutes and 50 seconds, like wait, like 3 hours and 50 minutes, like this movie's about to wrap. Where's Jared Leto? Like, where's that whole push for it? I was not expecting, I guess, the nightmare scene to come as late into the movie as it did.
Go ahead.
To be fair, they did say that for the reshoots lasted like I think about a week in total. So I kind of figured when they said they brought in Jared Leto, there's no way he was able to film more than a few scenes. So I figured I kind of went into this movie expecting that exact thing.
Well, I was just fascinated by the placement of the nightmare scene. Like I didn't expect it to come up in more of the epilogue section. I thought because of the fact that they did do, I believe, new footage for these reshoots, if I'm not mistaken, or at least the time for Bruce and the Joker on the same screen. It was just odd to me that they placed another nightmare sequence in the epilogue, because I'm just saying I was expecting it somewhere else in the film. Yeah. That's why I was curious as to so long into the movie. I'm like, where's Jared at?
I personally would have put it at the beginning.
I actually thought it was coming when during the whole Cyborg scene when he started seeing flashes and stuff. That's when I thought. I was like, oh damn it. Like I kept going, oh no. But the whole thing is they had you waiting on it. So if you were looking for that, you ended up watching the entire movie to wait on it, to see that scene, and then you're like, that felt so good. Because that was a powerful scene in the movie. It did mean something, and it did to me add something to the dynamic of his Joker. It's amazing what one line can do. You know what I'm saying? Like one line delivered properly, which we found out that he ad-libbed that line. That wasn't even there. That was a total ad-lib by Jared Leto that they just kept because they was like, it worked. And that man was trying to save his Joker. Like, you know, like it can't be, it's hard when you go to the bottom of the Jokers. I mean.
Yeah, you don't want to be the Joker at the bottom.
Yeah, you definitely don't. It's been some bad Jokers out there who we idolize just because of the way they played the character, but you don't want to be on the bottom of that.
You don't want to be the bottom Joker. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I really did enjoy the sequence though, just in general. I mean, talk about the idea of allowing for an opening for a Justice League sequel. I mean, I definitely understood that was really Zack Snyder's purpose, right? I mean, he made this film with the anticipation of hopefully getting to finish his movies. So the idea of being able to have another nightmare sequence sort of as that epilogue, I thought was pretty brilliant to kind of let us know that no, this nightmare sequence still very much could turn into a reality at some point in time. Just because of the fact that they sort of saved the world in this film doesn't necessarily mean that what Bruce thought or saw isn't going to come to fruition. So I did like how that was utilized towards the end.
Theoretically, it could set up Flashpoint.
It could as well. Yeah, it could if they wanted to go that direction.
I think that'd be a smart move on Warner Brothers' part if they did that.
I think that it kind of feels like that's something that he might have been going for as far as like how he was writing. Like he might have been writing to let these characters be what they were going to be in the future. I can tell you one thing. I'm not on Team Flash in this movie.
Really? I'm super shocked.
I'm not, and it's and I think it's because I can't take I think I keep thinking about the Flash as a character now rather than taking me back to, you know what I'm saying, before he became, you know what I'm saying, the Flash. So like watching him like this, I love how they tried to write it. I think I just don't like the way it was acted.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, because I feel like most of your issues has come with more Ezra Miller than the character, maybe like how he's portraying him or something like that.
Yeah, it's just too much. Like the Flash was witty, he cracked jokes, you know what I'm saying, Spider-Man-esque, but it's like the way he just plays lovable idiot, you know what I'm saying, when he's supposed to be one of the smartest people in the room, it's annoying to me.
I will say this, I did find it interesting just kind of going back and comparing the two. When you look at Whedon's version, Whedon makes him very much like a newbie, like a scared kid. I mean, the guy's got like an allergic reaction to everything. Everything terrifies him, right? I mean, he even pulls out the line of, I've never really done this before, right? Like I just push people out of the way is really all Whedon stuff. Whereas when you look at it in the Snyder version here, I mean, he kind of accepts the challenge. You know what I'm saying? He kind of goes in, saves the day, kind of helps wherever he certainly can. And while we do definitely get those annoying scenes that I get, I understand what you're referring to. I at least appreciate the fact that Snyder's version of Barry kind of already accepts that hero role, that he's not complaining about every little thing, like, oh, I'm allergic to this scares me, that scares me too. I kind of like the idea that they kind of removed that, so I thought maybe that would Snyder's vision, at least for the character, I thought would have hit you differently for this time around compared to last, because I felt like they made him a little bit of a pussy in Whedon's version.
I think one sorry.
No, go ahead, because I remember this.
Okay, because I think one weird thing for me with this version of the Flash, one big compliment I got to give Zack Snyder is that I'm pretty sure like the full length scene that we get between him and Batman was all shot by Snyder, but edited by Whedon. And I do like how kind of with the power of retrospect, Zack Snyder could see that full conversation wasn't as good like on film as it may have sounded on the script. So I do like that the full conversation was edited down a lot more compared to what we got in the theatrical part of that. So it didn't make me cringe as much hearing him like trying to make a joke that makes no sense about brunch. So I was glad about that. One element I actually did kind of wish they kept though from the Whedon version, and I assume he didn't, because I'm assuming this was shot by Whedon, and I know that Snyder didn't want to do anything that Whedon shot. I did actually kind of miss the beginning part of Flash being hesitant going into battle. Like I did love that line that Batman delivered to him when he said, just start with one, and then you'll know, that's it, and he didn't even say you have to keep going. He just, he basically implied, if you can do this, you'll find out, after you save just one person. I love that moment. So I kind of wish they kept that, but at the same time, it felt like that's all the Flash was in the theatrical cut, is that he was it was just him being scared and just being designated to only saving people. And they didn't let him have that much of an action moment. So, I kind of wish there was a little more of a mixture of the two, because on the other hand, it makes no sense that he was so able to just go into battle and, keep up with Batman and Wonder Woman, who have been doing this for years. So I just feel like the film could have used with a good balance, but if I had to choose between one or the other, like I don't get to choose like, a little bit of both. I do definitely prefer the Snyder version of the Flash for this.
I can give you that. It's way better than the Joss Whedon version. It's just things that bugged me, like him saving Iris and then standing there, letting her see him, and then zooming off like nobody sees him standing there barefoot with this girl. And then all of a sudden he's back sitting with the dogs. It was a brilliant scene. It's just little things that got me, like they do not care about their secret identities. I mean, it's cops standing everywhere, and Lois is sitting there going, Clark, while he's standing. I'm like,
you're saying his real name, lady. Come on.
I mean, she isn't saying Clark Kent, though. I mean, it's not like Clark isn't a common name.
How many in the history of watching any Superman thing, how many Clarks have you seen? It's like one Clark. You haven't even seen anything else listed Clark. It's always one Clark. It's like a million Jonas in these things. Like his Lois is all over the place. There's only one Clark. And when everybody else is calling him Kal-El, and then she just Clark. Like I'm sitting there, I'm just sitting there like, either they got the dumbest cops ever that don't catch on to that, or maybe it's just too loud in what's going on. Man, I don't know. But
I think they were more just worried about, oh crap, there's a dude with laser beams floating in the air and he doesn't seem friendly. I don't think they care
Yeah.
about the name.
They're probably not even picking up on names, but that's funny.
but the opening epilogue to this movie, watching Superman go down and then watching his yell reach like the depths of hell, like everybody resonated through that, and to seeing his importance and just being that symbol, just being hope, and where the world was then after that. I would have liked to see more of a world after, you know what I'm saying, Superman, like how bad things did it get, because you don't get to see that. That's one of the things that I think that I love the way Marvel does stuff, because the way they're rolling out stuff, we get to see what happened after we lost our top heroes. You know what I'm saying? Like 10 years after, we get to see the effect that it had on the world. And even if it was a couple of weeks, just like they tried to state, they knew the boxes were there. You know what I'm saying? The reason they never attacked that planet again, because there was a Kryptonian on the planet. You know what I'm saying? Him not being there, you're telling me that the world was protected in the same way? Because it looked like Bruce was doing nothing but just looking for superheroes. Like, you get nothing of him being Batman, being in Gotham. He looked like he went on full recruitment mission, like he worked in HR. That's all he was doing.
Yeah, that's all he was doing.
We know Diana was getting down. They showed us what, you know what I'm saying, Barry was doing. You know what I'm saying? Even though he was ground level, you know, but he was out there doing what he was doing. Aquaman doing his thing. I love the expansion on Jason Momoa's character too. Like, that made that Aquaman movie doper to me by watching the way he was portrayed in this movie. It made it that much better. And I don't know, just getting the breakdown of the characters. And man, somebody cast that man Ray Fisher or something else, like now, because his cyborg was done no justice at all in Joss Whedon's version. Cyborg was one of the biggest parts of this movie, and watching him go through what he went through and all the turmoil and stuff going, he had one of the biggest character building arcs in the entire movie. I don't understand how you leave that out.
Yeah, it still gets me every time. Just seeing him dig the grave, you know, standing at his grave and his mom's grave, when he winds up burying the mother box, that hit me pretty hard. Even the death of his father and seeing how he was handling it and stuff too, like that kind of punched me in the face. Also, he had a ton of great moments in here. But I'm glad that you brought something up. Real quick, Stuart, going back to your comment about the balance. You're right. There are some great Whedon lines that I do miss that aren't in this movie anymore. That definitely was one, his interaction with the Flash, but also even his moments with Diana. I almost really enjoyed a lot of their close moments that they had, Bruce and Diana in Whedon's version, that we don't necessarily get so much in here, because I thought they had some really good conversations. So you're right, there is a sacrifice there, right? Some like great additional character building, but maybe kind of missing out on some really great sort of dialogue moments. So I definitely agree. And it's in Indy, you know, you talk about just the opening prologue for this film. I loved it, man. I love the idea of just seeing what the death of Superman really meant, not just for the mother boxes, but just for the universe. I mean, you get to see the mother boxes awakening for the first time in years when they realize that Superman is dead. And it leads to a fantastic battle on Themyscira. I'm just seeing like that mother box just kind of open up and bring everybody to life. Starting the movie off like that immediately gives you just a different sense of what the mission is, and what the plot might, like, just the idea that the plot's going to be further explored in this version than what we got in the Whedon stuff, which was just kind of cut down. But that impact of seeing Superman's like final breaths activating things and really starting to kind of build up and cause that stir in the universe, that kind of really got me even more anticipated for what else was coming into this movie, because you know that they were definitely going to come out swinging. But I love the opening sequence for Themyscira. All of that was kind of cut down also, which was a little bit of a bummer to me. When Steppenwolf like walks in for the first time and he says, you're going to bathe in my fear, and then you've got the queen who's like, daughters of Themyscira, Themyscira, show him your fear. And they're like, we have no fear. And it just like riles you up, ready for a battle type of thing. Like all that whole battle cry sequence, that sort of empowerment moment just chopped out of the Whedon version. And for me, it just added a lot more depth and impact for these battles and these sequences that we wind up getting in here. So you guys know I'm a big fan of anything Themyscira or Amazonians included. I think they do a brilliant job in this version, at least with them.
Yeah, there was the whole thing in the Whedon cut that annoyed me is that you have like this epic moment where they're like closing the barrier to try to trap him in, and then he just kind of walks through it like nothing. Like I get that we're supposed to see that, oh, even this backup plan they had wasn't enough for him, but I love the way it was redone with this by not just having him walk out of the barrier, but rather the entire barrier itself has to collapse on him over the edge of the hill. And even that's not enough to stop him. Like, I think not only did it make Steppenwolf seem just that much more like intimidating as a villain, but it also like really kind of showed that their whole barrier backup plan wasn't just some stupid, pointless, like, attempt that really accomplished nothing. It at least tried to, you could see it have accomplish something like if it was like any other villain. It didn't just seem like this really pointless part that just padded out the action scene. It actually had a lot more weight to it. No pun intended.
Okay, I take my Cyborg comment back. Steppenwolf had the most character development.
I love Steppenwolf in this movie. I really loved it. Like in the Whedon version, it feels very much like he's sort of the main bad guy, right? It doesn't really give him too much of an exposition, with the exception of maybe one or two times he mentions Darkseid and he says, I'm trying to redeem myself or whatever the case may be. But like this film really goes into that. Like I almost kind of feel for Steppenwolf a little bit, like the idea of trying to regain your get in your master's favor again and do whatever you can to kind of get recognized, sort of thing. I thought Steppenwolf's storyline was actually really brilliant and just added that much more to this film.
Just remember the line, you owe me 50,000 planets. It's like, geez, I thought my student debt was really bad.
And you see the look on his face of like, what? Like, I still got to do all this for you, dude? Like, I loved it, man. I was really impressed because for me, it's the idea of not only do you get more built up for Steppenwolf, but you also understand his desperation to bring this world down for his master. But his desperation to get into good graces with Darkseid even gives Darkseid a bigger role in this particular film, so you can get the opportunity to see that there is this overarching plan and this terror out there that Steppenwolf is just the beginning, sort of thing. And I love just the lore that it continues to build outside of that, and for me it just levels the stakes even higher for our heroes in this movie, unlike what I wind up getting in the theatrical cut for it. And it just makes it that much more of a dangerous movie for me. Like I definitely feel like our heroes are certainly in danger, you know?
And I don't know why Warner Brothers wanted to cut that out, because one thing is, when it comes to superhero films, you always want to set up for more, and that had so much set up for future projects that they could have been hinting at in the future, especially with having like this idea where Steppenwolf is such an antagonist for the Justice League by himself, and then you have Darkseid from this portal on the other side who's like so unfazed by it. When his general's like, I told you he'd fail, Darkseid was like, yeah, I'm not surprised. Just the idea of that's the villain you're setting up for. Why would you cut that? Because you want people to be excited for sequels. When you do a superhero movie, you keep something like that if you want them to stay excited.
Facts. I mean, just the epilogue alone, Zeus, Ares, human. I felt like I was watching Lord of the Rings at first. I ain't even gonna lie. Like that's what it felt like with the armies coming together in Lord of the Rings.
Oh, yeah.
But to know that Zeus and Ares, the combo that they were doing on Darkseid with the Amazonian and the fact they had to literally jump this man.
They did.
To take him out was very interesting to me. And I don't know, I might have missed it, but I'm like, the whole time I'm watching the movie, like, where the hell is Zeus and Ares? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is a threat. The threat
Oh, to
is
like
back.
actually come down and help them
Yeah.
in modern time.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure Diana knows what happened the last time. Like, pray to your dad and ask for help. Like something.
Yeah, it
I
is
think.
fascinating. Oh, go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, I think that's why they changed the opening part to have it be Darkseid instead of Steppenwolf, so they could have that implication that just Steppenwolf isn't a big enough deal for the gods to for the old gods to be involved. It's like if it's Darkseid, he's a big enough threat to where it even terrifies the old gods, and they'll like get involved. But if it's Steppenwolf, they're just kind of like, you guys got this, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I could definitely see that for sure. A part of me also thinks that there's a lot to say that that they just aren't as united as maybe they used to be. I mean, well, granted, they weren't even united in the past, right? I mean, Diana, when explaining the story, says, you know, men, Atlanteans, and Amazons, you know, they got to the battlefield, but they initially were going to fight solo, you know, like their own groups, but then they eventually decided to kind of come around and face off all together to go ahead and take them down. So I just wonder, considering the fact that they, at least while they had problems then, they were able to realize the threat and kind of come together. I also just wonder if now that they're just so separate after so many years that they just don't even care to get involved. You know what I mean? Like there's just that much of a separation between the man and Atlanteans and Amazons at this point that there's no trust and nobody's willing to kind of come together also. But I will say this too, you know, going back to the villains, you know, the villains are super important to your films. There's a reason why the MCU has succeeded with guys like Loki and a Killmonger and a Thanos. And, you know, you make a good point, Stuart, in the idea of why would you cut all that story out for Steppenwolf along with Darkseid, because, you know, for these type of movies, you do need a formidable foe that's going to be able to have to face off against these villains. And just Steppenwolf by themselves in the theatrical cut just was not it for me. But for some reason, knowing that there's a bigger threat out there, and just seeing even a new designed Steppenwolf in here also, just it made the threat feel a little bit more real and just up the stakes for me in this movie that I was really impressed with. Outside of his storyline, did you like his new design over his old one? Because I believe I believe you said, Stuart, that you did like the old one. Did you like this one also? Did you have a preference?
This way, I like what he looked like underneath the armor a lot more, because he looks a lot more alien-like and looks like a lot more threatening. I didn't like his armor that much, just because to me the whole thing looked a little bit too silly, like with all the spikes constantly moving. Like you got to imagine that dude's like poking himself every step that he takes. Like, I will out. Stop! Ow!
He turns his head real sharply. Hey! Oh, my eyeball! Yeah, I get it. He almost kind of had like what's the guy from the Thor movie that he came down to Earth and was just destroying the hell out of it. Their ultimate weapon. What was his name again?
I think that's one of the things they said he looked like, and I felt like they took that off because of that at first. But
oh, you think so?
Yeah,
that's kind of what it reminded me a little bit.
Like it.
Yeah.
But
was it Devastator? No, I don't think it was Devastator. I can't remember what it was. I'm thinking Transformers maybe.
Yeah.
But I personally like the design. I actually thought it worked for me. The other one just felt more like they were trying to make him too humanoid for me.
Yeah, I really like this. It looked like a soldier, you know what I'm saying, from like the Alien franchise. He just looked like something that would terrify you. And the fact that how the armor moved and they was shooting arrows to catch the arrows to keep from piercing them, it just seemed like he had layers of things he could do in order to be terrifying, along with that damn axe. So it was very interesting. The two totally different types of characters that we got out of these two movies when it came to Steppenwolf. Steppenwolf in the Snyder cut feels like he has a valid reason for doing what he's doing. And we noticed the best villains have a reason that you can agree with. Whether you think it's right or wrong, you know what I'm saying, you understand the reason and why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely adds to it for sure. Let me ask you, out of all the characters that we saw even further developed in here, do you have one that really stands out to you,
I
or
mean,
or a story arc for them that really stood out to you?
I think the most obvious one is Cyborg, because it's so funny. He goes from being kind of the least important, I think, in the original cut of the film, to suddenly like he's almost like the center of the film. Because I mean, Batman is technically, like, I guess you could say, the main character if you had to choose one, because Batman gets the most screen time, but he also is the least developed by the end of the movie. I brought this up earlier during Hero Report, which is that I feel like for this, they already kind of had Batman as the developed Batman character that, you know, we wanted to see in Dawn of Justice. Now he has fully taken up that mantle as Batman, but we don't see him really develop anything. We don't see him change at all or really have that much of an arc other than assembling the team. So in terms of the most screen time to a character that actually has like a full on complete arc and that ties into the movie itself, I do feel like Cyborg was kind of the main character in that aspect of the whole thing. Like, not only was he a lot more connected to the mother boxes than he was in the original, but again, he did have a very complete story arc, and definitely he was a very different character by the end of the film than he was in the very beginning.
And you know what I find interesting too when it comes to Cyborg, a lot of his exposition and his discovery of his own abilities, and even his explanation of his origin story, all of that gets cut down in Whedon's version. It gets kind of summed up in like 2 or 3 sentences that Cyborg kind of delivers, and it embraces a completely different set of scenes. Like the scenes that aren't in Whedon's version that I thought was really powerful in this one, is when we get the tape recorder from Silas, and you get Silas explaining to Cyborg all the things that he can do, and you get to see the special effects kind of kicking in, you know, so you can see him like glimpsing through people's phones. You can see him even like his consciousness kind of going into his body, so everything is sort of visually depicted, right? The idea that he can control nuclear bombs and codes whenever he certainly wants to, right? Like visually, all that was really stunning and actually really informative to even better understand Cyborg's abilities, instead of just having Cyborg himself deliver a couple lines like, yeah, I can scan all of the internet and go break through firewalls and the idea of visually being able to see it, I think, does just so much more to it. And then he even has another sequence towards the end, when not towards the end, but before they face off against Steppenwolf, when they're talking about the mother box. And you know, you got Aquaman that's questioning him, like, how do you know so much about these things? You know, are you on their side, sort of thing? And then we get Cyborg explaining how he became who he was, you know, with Silas using the mother boxes. Again, when you look at the theatrical cut, it's just, yeah, I got into an accident. My dad used the mother box to cure me, sort of thing. But again, visually being able to see it, how it all kind of comes together. For me, it was super tragic seeing just him having to deal with the death of his mom, and the idea of being brought back sort of against your will, sort of thing, to see like that type of Frankenstein monster sort of mentality that Silas kind of had, but also because he wants to save his own son, you know, considering the fact that he's practically lost his whole entire family. So there is something just really visually powerful about a lot of the stuff that was originally cut out of here, that when it's added to Snyder's version, man, it just goes that extra mile, and you actually caring about the Cyborg character and really what he's kind of going through emotionally. And then even the scene where we get to see him explaining how the mother box works, and the idea of maybe utilizing that technology to bring back Superman, right? You get the musical score that kicks in from the Man of Steel. You get to visually see them, you know, Superman possibly returning and stuff, and you feel the impact that Superman and the hope that he winds up bringing kind of comes back. All of that is gone in the theatrical version, and it just adds to the Cyborg story so much in regards to not only his story, but just adding that emotional impact that you need for this movie. I'm so glad that Snyder was able to finally showcase all that, because it added just so much more emotion to this movie for me.
One thing that surprised me of that scene that you described with Cyborg's, the visual things from Cyborg, especially with the shot of Superman that he ends up being able to visualize for the team, is it was so weird because that was such a cool looking moment. And it was weird because we know that was a VFX scene that was done because we saw it in the trailer.
Yeah, yes, that's right.
So it's so bizarre. You have a really cool looking shot like that and you don't utilize it in the movie. So again, it's just one of those things where it's like, you have it. Why wouldn't you use that?
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything y'all saying, man. It's just, I don't understand how you have one version of a movie and then literally get a quote unquote director's cut, and it's literally a totally different movie with an amazing cliffhanger that is supposedly supposed to lead to more movies, which after this, I don't know how they don't give Zack Snyder you know what I'm saying, at least 2 more and be like, look, if we don't do this, these fans might boycott the WB. Because I've never seen so many Marvel fans just.
Yeah, and even Marvel fans were happy for this movie. Like, that's a damn, like, it just, because I even put this on Twitter the other day, Indy. I was just like, who looks at this movie and then looks at the Whedon version and is like, yeah, that's the better movie. That's the one we got to go with. Yep. So under 2 hours. Boom. Let's do it. I mean, like, just while this movie is not perfect, it definitely has its issues. 1, 4 hours, probably a little bit too long. This again, when I look at this is a director's cut. This is what his vision certainly was. I'm pretty sure if WB had completely okayed and greenlit this, they probably still would have asked them to at least edit it down. Like, brother, can you give me a 3-hour movie, at least 3-hour, 15-minute movie? And I do think they probably could have still pulled off a great film at that particular length. But it's just, I just feel like tonally there's so many great things that connect and just add so much more depth and scope to this film that I just don't know how you look at a Whedon version and you're like, you know, we're okay with that. We're okay with that. We'd rather do that than assemble what we just had in this movie to make a good one and come do something completely different. Unless the only thing I could think of is, if I don't know if you guys have read this, they had a Vanity Fair interview with Zack Snyder this past week where he kind of broke down where he really wanted to lead the future of the DCEU with his other Justice League movies. You know, he had some ideas about Lois and Bruce having a romantic relationship sort of thing. Her and Clark actually being pregnant, which I think was very much hinted at here in this Justice League movie, also that she possibly could be pregnant, and that they would eventually go on to have a child, Clark and Lois, and would actually name it after Bruce. For, you know, and then this kid would actually go on to become the new Batman at some particular point in time, sort of in his life. So I don't know. I heard some things that they weren't really pleased with the idea of Lois and Bruce having some sort of romantic relationship. I don't know if it was going to turn into some weird, you know, drama type of thing. I think it was supposed to go into one of the reasons why this nightmare version of Superman wanted to take out Bruce, because Bruce was supposed to watch over Lois and ultimately failed at the end of the day. So I am wondering if it was so much a case of like, if we let Zack go down this path, maybe there's some storyline ideas that we really don't feel comfortable with having to explore. And maybe that's why they decided to completely redo this movie. Because that's the only thing I can think of outside of somebody sitting down and looking at these movies. Yep, Josh Whedon's cut. Let's go with that one, guys. It's just weird to me.
Well, there was a cut of the film, and I'd actually be really curious to see this now. Release the original Snyder theatrical cut, whatever you'd call it. But there was a 2-hour and 30-minute cut of Justice League that Snyder showed to Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers wasn't pleased with it. So I am really curious to find out what that cut was. As for like the stuff that you described, like I do actually really like the idea of Lois and Clark having a kid, naming them Bruce. I don't know how I'd feel about a Bruce Lois relationship unless it was meant to take place before Batman v Superman or sometime like during Batman.
I want to say it's supposed to be, I don't know if it was during the time of her mourning, like after he passed type of thing. I'm not quite sure. I have to read the article again to see exactly if he clarifies when it might happen.
Yeah, just because I don't with the relationship that Superman and Lois currently have within the Snyderverse, her leaving Superman for Batman doesn't make sense to me. But if it was like while he was dead, or if it was like before they were really in a serious relationship, I wouldn't really have anything against it. But I will say that I do like the idea of if Batman were to die in this universe, Lois and Superman naming their kid Bruce instead of Jonathan Kent. I actually do think that's a kind of a brilliant idea in that aspect. But I'd have to see like what his full detailed plan is, because again, I've said this before, even before watching this movie, like I wouldn't mind Zack Snyder coming back to DC, but I'm not a huge supporter in the return the Snyderverse or revive the Snyderverse. Sorry, that's the hashtag, right? I'm not a huge supporter in letting him have full creative control, though. I'd want there to be some other producers, some other comic book writers, other people like telling him, okay, let's not quite go this direction. But, if we had a good writer for the next Justice League sequel, I wouldn't mind Zack Snyder, directing it and having it fit, as a sequel to his version of Justice League.
I'm gonna be honest with you. The little love triangle, whatever thing, like the minute you said that, the first thing that popped in my head is Zack Snyder was a Walking Dead fan, because I think Shane, Laurie, and Rick. Like my head. As soon as that happened. But no, I think it's more of maybe not a romantic relationship, but more of the connection they have for their love for, Kal-El, for Clark, and a friendship that some may seem, some may look at like is inappropriate. But especially with the hints at the whole Bruce Diana, thing that's going on, because I wouldn't have took my hand off the mouse. I'd be like, look, this is the way you guys
let me show you, girl. Let me show you how to
click
do
here. You have to right click. This is a Mac. You can't left click. You have to right click. Like I'd have been all on it. But I do like the idea of a unpowered, Kent's son becoming the next Batman. That does seem very interesting to me. I also like the line about you never seen I can't remember the exact line of you never seen a Robin to do a bad job. Whatever he said. Because I swear to me that line felt like it was a shot at Joss Whedon. Like I don't think it was meant to be taken like that. I feel like that was a shot at him. And then it makes me go back. I watched this and then I went back and watched Avengers. And I'm starting to feel like it wasn't Joss Whedon. It was actually those amazing actors, the stuff we had that made that movie, that chemistry they had with each other. Mainly, and especially in the first Avengers, mostly Robert Downey Jr., that actually made that movie what it was. I'm like wanting to go back and watch Firefly. I'm like, Joss Whedon, like, do you have anything other than Buffy and Firefly that you can actually hang your hat on?
And Angel, which was a better show than Buffy, to my opinion. It was the superior spinoff.
I mean, it was a superior spinoff, but you don't get to the spinoff without Buffy.
Well, okay. But I will say, yeah, you're right about that. But I will say though, in regards to why, I do see this being directed by Joss Whedon along with Avengers. I see it being the same person, is because it wasn't fully his film, because regardless of it being Joss Whedon re-editing it and then adding his own shots, there was only so much he could do, because I want to say the budget for what he had to reshoot was probably even lower than what Zack Snyder got to finish his vision.
I'm sure.
So I don't know, honestly, how anyone could have really been able to have their own flavor in a film like this without it being a complete mess. Unless they tried to mimic Zack Snyder, which I think that's what they should have done, was rather than getting Joss Whedon to try to make Justice League feel more like Avengers, they should have gotten another director similar, maybe not exactly, but similar to Zack Snyder, so at least the film would have felt more cohesive. Whereas because of what we got with the Justice League movie, the fact that every scene was so obvious, which scenes were directed by Joss Whedon, which scenes were directed by Zack Snyder, the fact that you could tell is really bad. All right, you don't want your movie to have it be like scene by scene, who did what. So they should have at least gotten a director that wanted to be similar enough to Zack Snyder, that wanted to complete it in a similar enough manner.
Yeah, I remember I remember watching this movie, the theatrical cut, and I remember the very first sequence being Batman out in Gotham, and he's tracking down the robber, and he's using them as bait for one of the parademons, and the parademon comes up, and then they have their battle and stuff, and then that's how Bruce finds the three symbols or something like that, and then it connects it to go find the Aquaman and things like that. That whole opening sequence of Batman in Gotham was just the cheesiest thing I'd ever seen. Like, I could immediately see, like, this is not Zack Snyder. Like, this is definitely all Joss Whedon. And it's crazy when you go back and you watch the movie, directed by Zack Snyder. I mean, this movie was definitely pushed to be a Snyder film, when it definitely was just an amalgamation of just a mess, man. And there were moments like that where visually you can definitely just see Joss Whedon's flavor like all over it, man. I mean, even moments like that, even some joking moments that he had, right? Like the idea that he took he wound up putting in a thirsty Lois scene, I believe, at the Daily Planet. His mom's like, Clark said you were the thirstiest woman he ever met, or the thirstiest reporter. So whatever the case may be, like they just add in these weird ass jokes like that sometimes. Like the moment of the Flash falling on top of Wonder Woman at the Gotham Harbor, the air vent moment that we got again, the battle at Steppenwolf, that was thrown in there from Joss Whedon. They're just visually, like you said, Stuart, just scenes you could see that are just clearly not Zack Snyder's at all.
And I think part of it also why it was so bad, because usually Joss is really great with witty dialogue, but the reason I think it sucked with Justice League is I don't think he had really the time to think it out. I think he just got hired on the spot and had to come up with stuff like on the spot. And I'm assuming like any director, even talented writers, aren't able to come up with, I feel like writing dialogue is hard and takes time to think. That's why scripts get written and then rewritten over and over. Whereas I feel like the dialogue never had that rewrite. And that's why the conversations were so awkward. The jokes never landed, for me. Yeah, so I think that was like a big factor in why.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely right. I mean, because they didn't even move the release date for this movie, and so they kind of bring in Joss Whedon and force him to have to put an entire movie together before the film is released without giving him any extension, sort of thing. So probably out here trying to do the impossible, to say the least. But yeah, so definitely some things, like I said, from Whedon's version, I do miss the dialogue, because he's always been really great when it comes to dialogue and monologues in general, and just really working with a big ensemble cast. So I definitely see that, but yeah, I just did the idea of having him come in so quick to put this together just did not work at all. But one things I will say, I do want to talk a little bit about Bruce, because even though he doesn't have a huge sort of story arc, I mean, he is sort of set when we get into this movie, like you mentioned, the idea of him having spent all his time trying to recruit people. I do love the fact that this movie does continue to emphasize the hope that he certainly now has, right? Like, there is a progression of his character from where we saw him in Batman versus Superman, that his interaction with Superman has significantly changed him from that just dark and bitter sort of superhero, that vigilante who's been through the ringer for all these years. Somebody like Superman has now kind of given him that faith and that hope, and understanding as to what it is that Superman does mean to everybody. So I did like his arc in here, in the sense of him sticking to his guns, believing in the fact that his actions were the right way to go ahead and go, even when people were doubting him about, should we bring him back with his mother box? Is this about to be a Pet Cemetery sort of situation? Even though I don't even think the Pet Cemetery, were the Pet Cemetery lines in this movie, or were just in the the
just
Whedon
in
one.
the Joss version. They didn't even make that joke in this.
He's like, but I got the understanding. Like, is this guy gonna come back the way that we want him to kind of come back? And even there's an even scene in here where Alfred has a great line. Don't push a something bull by waving the red flag at him, by waving the red flag at him. And then Bruce says, well, this bull punches back, or this red flag punches back, or something like that. So it just goes to show you the importance of what Superman does mean to this. And I just felt like Bruce's faith, the importance of Superman, all of that really just got heightened in this movie for me, so that when Superman does come in, yeah, it's a game changer. It's a game changer.
Yeah, you could see that, his arc was completed from Dawn of Justice, because, essentially Batman's arc from Dawn of Justice was that he had fallen. We got like some hints of what like caused him to really fall as the Dark Knight, but he definitely wasn't the Batman that we all knew and loved. And that's partially what I think could have been better with Dawn of Justice is if we hadn't established the fact that he at one point was that Batman we all know and love. But I feel like Zack kind of assumed everyone would already know that he used to be that Batman, and that this was a fallen Batman, fallen from grace. And so the whole arc in Dawn of Justice was him getting back up there. And so, yeah, I do think Justice League did a great job of being consistent with that arc of now he's back to being the Batman that everyone knows and love. And I think that, this movie did a great job of really emphasizing that he can still be dark and broody, but, he can still have that layer of hope behind him.
Yeah, I'm definitely digging that. Regardless of what people say, I feel that Affleck's Batman was never lacking. He was never the negative thing in any of these movies, anything going along.
Yeah, not at all.
You understood where his Bruce Wayne stood, and the fact that he was actually able to be the character more outside the suit than what he was inside, what I'm saying, inside it, made a huge difference, because in this movie, I really feel like he was the driving point to somebody trying to get the humanity back. Like it made me feel like he felt like Clark, even though he was an alien, was more human than what he would ever be.
Yeah, I think he even has a great line. Whedon's theatrical cut even has a line where he says he's more human than I ever was, is what he says about Clark.
Yeah, so you get that feeling more in this Snyder cut than you do just in the lines that he was given in the Whedon cut, because it's just the mannerisms, the way he says things. You could tell that he knows what Clark's meaning to humanity was, and that he possibly really didn't see it until after Clark was gone. Just him fighting to keep that promise and everything for Clark is just super important. I love, and I swear I hope Affleck gets over whatever he's got going on, because I would love that last, movie with him, just to see where he's taking the character, because after seeing this cut of the movie, that man was a damn good Batman.
He was. There's a reason why so many people really love them some Batflick, man. I don't know what the future is definitely going to hold, but whether it be, I even heard some people hoping that maybe Snyderverse would be continued on HBO Max. I think, if they really are continuing to go on with this sort of multiverse aspect, it would be cool to kind of every once in a while maybe go back to some of these characters if they don't continue to pursue them, because I would love to see Ben Affleck take up the mantle one more time, at least, whether it be a solo film that he's been wanting to do with Deathstroke back. I think that's what the Ben Affleck script was originally supposed to be, or if they do want to continue on along with another Justice League movie, I think it would be a really great spot on HBO Max if they didn't want to risk it by putting it out in theaters.
I still would love, because we got like the fake concept art that I thought looked really good from Boss Logic. I would still love a mini series, like, maybe have it be somewhere between 6 to 8 episodes on HBO Max, Ben Affleck's Batman. And I would personally like it if it took place before Dawn of Justice. So we get him as Batman. We get like backstory on why it is that Deathstroke absolutely hates him. I feel like that could actually make a really cool mini series for sure.
Yeah, I would definitely be down to see that. I definitely would be. Let me ask you guys some other questions in regards to things about this that you did not like. Was there anything that really stood out to you that you could see either why it was cut out or some things that you just weren't the biggest fan of in this version?
Slow motion does not work for everything.
Yeah.
I agree there.
You have somebody who's supposed to be the fastest man on the earth.
Why is he running slow?
And and you make everybody seem like they're the fastest man or woman on the earth when they're all moving as fast as him.
Yeah, no, that was there are times where it looks really good, but I think because it was a 4-hour movie and because I feel like one of the biggest issues is that he overused it just from the opening scene with Wonder Woman. It was almost like you kind of blew your load there, like right off the bat with Wonder Woman scene. There was just, I actually do think part of that scene was actually edited better in the Whedon version because there were some moments of slow motion to really get you hyped, and then it was mixed in with the fast motion action, the fast paced action, which is something that Zack Snyder, funny enough, is usually excellent at. He's usually great at giving you the slow motion when it's needed, but then going back to the fast pace in order to keep the momentum going. But for the Wonder Woman scene in particular, that was one where I feel like the slow motion was just way overused and it's just like didn't have as much meaning as it could have.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would agree with both of you. Certainly, Indy, the idea that slow motion doesn't work for everything. I feel like the first hour of this movie, at least going back and rewatching it yesterday, it feels very much like the first hour and a half of this movie. Definitely has a ton of just slow motion tracking shots that I just feel could be sped up or we don't even necessarily need it. I mean, there are fantastic moments for it. There are great moments when it, like you said, guys, when it's needed. But when it's almost like in every beginning shot, I mean, it's not necessarily the best way to kick off a movie. You know what I mean? You're kind of dragging the beginning portion of your film. I mean, I saw some people say, yeah, man, I fell asleep watching it, especially if you're watching it late at night. Yeah, I'd probably pass the F out too, man. But it is very slow-mo driven, I feel like, in the beginning, so it does drag. And I was not the biggest fan of some of the music selection in here. The Junkie XL stuff I absolutely loved. The composition was brilliant, but like the actual lyrics with songs and stuff trying to accompany things, it just didn't always work for me. Like the Icelandic song that they were singing, even the slow-mo song when Lois is given the the officer's coffee and going to the burial site or the memorable site for Superman and stuff, like all that stuff was just drawn out. The music was a terrible selection. It could kind of take you out of the film from times, like especially the Icelandic scene. Like, I don't know, why do we have to stay on those women singing for so long? Like, can we just move on to the next scene, right? But I felt like there was a lot of those very early on in the movie. But I feel like once you get past like the first hour and a half or so, it just really picks up after that the rest of the way for me. But hard beginning for sure.
Yeah, the Icelandic scene that you were describing with Aquaman, and you have like the weird chorus. Don't know the point of that. That really and I'm glad it was at the beginning and it wasn't like something that like dragged the movie down to the like middle of it. But yeah, that scene just really dragged the whole movie down like right off the bat. So it's a really good thing that we had some cool action moments with Wonder Woman immediately afterwards.
And the Themyscira stuff too that helped also.
That too, because that was such a bad scene. I mean, everything else before that, the conversation with Aquaman and Batman was good, but like just the way they ended it with like the women singing for no reason at all, like.
Girl picking up the sweater and sniffing it like whoa,
oh
girl,
my gosh, it was the
like, what are you
thing.
doing? I was like, what are you doing?
I was like watching that movie with my girlfriend the second time I was watching with her, and she was like jokingly goes, "Oh, let me guess, she's about to sniff it," and then she like sniffs,
and she sniffs it.
She actually does
dirty
that.
panties, girl. Put those down. Like nobody wants to smell your guy's sweater. Anyway, I mean, I guess it's like a god complex in a sense, right? Like, they look at them as these mythical beings or some shit like that because they have these abilities. So maybe but still, it was just an awkward scene.
Yeah,
it's like nobody wants to sniff somebody's dirty panties. Just put those away. Anyway. But yeah, other than that, though, I mean, those are really my only two complaints that I wind up having. I mean, granted, yeah, there are certainly some scenes and that's another reason why I said I feel like this movie could be an easy 3 hours or at least 3 hours and 15 minutes, because there are some really long shots that I don't necessarily even think needed to be in the film.
There was one other kind of complaint. I'm not really a huge complaint, but definitely a nitpick. And I'm curious to know what you guys think of this. So I like Superman's black suit for the most part. I just wish we had a reason for it. It was really bizarre because in the comic books, the reason he has that suit is because specifically that is supposed to, help him absorb the sun faster and, help him recover after he's been, dead or in a coma for so many months. So there's like an in-universe explanation for it. And then they even say the reason he can't wear it for too long is because if it absorbs too much radiation, then it could possibly lead to him getting killed again from, radiation from the sun. So there was a good reason in comic book universe, but for the movie universe, there's not really an explanation for it. And I don't mind it there because it looks cool. It's just that I don't know. I don't like the idea that Zack kind of implied that this was going to be the Superman look from now on at the very end of the movie. To me, it like, as much as I like it when it's used sparingly, I don't like the idea that, yes, this is Superman now. Black suit Superman is the Superman that you see. But what do you guys think of that?
You want to go first, Indy? Or I'll go first? I'll go first. I definitely get what you're saying. I mean, I think the idea that there is a reasoning for it in the comic books. I am wondering if Zack Snyder just decided to kind of gloss over that a little bit. But I mean, it's interesting you say that it can absorb the power of the sun easily, because what's the first thing that Superman does once he puts on the black suit? He goes right up to space to absorb it, right? So there is an understanding as to what, at least for Zack Snyder, he understands clearly the idea of what the black suit works for. But I get the idea that maybe a conversation with Jor-El quickly or something like that, a quick, Russell Crowe appearance might have been great, or just hearing his voice to explain the usage of maybe the black suit over whatever the case may be. But I've always seen it just kind of a rebirth suit for Superman. But again, unless you have not been reading the comic books, maybe some people definitely would kind of put that big question mark in it. And I don't necessarily mind it being sort of the final suit that we see him wearing at the end of the movie, because I mean, clearly the idea of Superman going back to the traditional suit is there, just because of the fact that we've seen it in the nightmare sequences. So if those are supposed to be like future moments, then we do know that he eventually does go back to it. But considering the fact that, Zack Snyder is not going to get the opportunity to finish off his films, I'm pretty sure we would have maybe gotten those back in like the sequels that we would have seen. But I guess there's only but so much you can do with going back now and telling the story or whatever the case may be a little bit differently. But I didn't mind it so much. I liked it, but I didn't mind it so much.
Okay.
It didn't bother me. I really felt, I knew what the black suit represented in the comics. To me, in this aspect, I really felt like it was him still not kind of like knowing who he was, still not knowing what he was. So he didn't have the identity of hope when it came to putting back on the blue and red. But also, I think the fact that it tied to the relationship between him and Batman with, their connection, because Batman's in black, he's in black. Like it just, the whole setup of this entire movie was based on their relationship. And I felt like you saw Bruce taking on, characteristics from Clark's personality, and then you have Clark taking on aspects from Bruce's personality. And to me, it was just, I just feel like they just met somewhere in the middle, and it just looks cool.
Oh yeah. Like I said, it does look cool.
Yeah.
I think like my whole complaint would have gone away if at the end we saw like the traditional suit at the end. But
that's right, because there's a shot when he's coming down the alleyway and he rips his shirt apart, right, and to reveal the S, and it's still the black suit. You're right.
Yeah, that was kind of what bothered me about the whole thing. Like I didn't mind that he used it in the final battle. Let me say that I thought the suit looked really cool, and I didn't mind that it was used in the final battle. I just didn't like that was the last suit we see from him before, not counting the future flashbacks, but just because it implied that was his new, like that's the new Superman suit from now on.
Yeah, I definitely get you.
But remember too, we were supposed to have another movie.
Yeah.
yeah, definitely,
So
definitely. But I
got back to it.
And I definitely do think he certainly would have, but I do like your point of view, Indy, in the sense that maybe he just can't recognize that level of hope yet, right? Like maybe he's got to earn that back, or live up to it in order to kind of put that suit back on, you know what I mean? So maybe that's something, the journey we would have seen him take in the future. But I gotta say, man, I love the return. I thought the return was brilliant in here. I felt like the fight sequence for the most part was similar, with the exception of like Aquaman and the Flash bumping into one another and then pointing at each other. He's like looking at him like, hey, don't ever do that again, type of thing. So that was pretty great. Also seeing the heat vision with Batman absorbing it, which clearly he wind up stealing that idea from Wonder Woman's gauntlets. I think she was like, yeah, how about we get him a black lasso also? That would go great with your costume, Bruce, coming up with these ideas of yours. But I love just seeing the return of Superman at the end when he winds up helping face off against Steppenwolf in here. Just as badass of an intro as you can absolutely make, man. The idea of that Steppenwolf axe coming down and just chilling on his shoulder, and he's just like not impressed. And then the cold breath. I was like, if anything, I stood up out of my seat, man. It freaked me out. I thought it was the coolest moments of seeing him just freeze up that axe. What did you guys think of the return of Superman?
That is the way it should be done. The way Josh,
like, why wasn't that in the movie? Like,
Whedon's version made it cheapened the return, because like when you're watching Whedon's version, it's like, oh, he's coming back. You know what I'm saying? Like it was something about the anticipation of not knowing what was going to happen, and then the way it happened, which made it feel so much more important than what it was before. Because in Whedon's version, you felt like there was really, if nobody else showed up, it was no way they were going to lose. They were eventually going to win. Even with or without Superman in Whedon's version, they were going to figure out a way to win. But in this one, as soon as he showed up, it was something like, man, it was like when LeBron takes over a game or Steph Curry gets hot.
That's a great comparison.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing you can do. Like you look at Steph and like, dog, like you should just go ahead and just lay the axe down, walk away, live to fight another day, because this isn't good for you right now.
Like he's just pummeling him. And one of my favorite shots is literally seeing Superman use his laser eyes to like literally cut off Homeboy's horn. Like I was like, what the I was not expecting that.
Yeah, that was great. And it sucked because in the Whedon version, as soon as Superman shows up, this is like what Indy was saying, and I fully agree with him. There was just nothing to really add any tension, because you kind of knew, okay, battle's won now because Steppenwolf can't even lay like a finger on him. The mother boxes needing to be separate wasn't really that much of an obstacle anymore, because what's Steppenwolf going to do? Try to hit Superman while he's helping Cyborg separate them? But here they have the obstacle that Cyborg has to be the one to do it. Like Superman can't help him. So you have the fact that like even if they kill Steppenwolf right then and there, it's still not the end of it. You still have the obstacle with the Flash going on. So I like that Superman wasn't, just because they had Superman there, that didn't mean the battle was over. They still had that chance that they could lose. In fact, we actually see that. If it wasn't for the fact that the Flash is able to reverse time, they would have lost. And I absolutely love that. So because a lot of people, and I know this was like why Warner Brothers didn't want Superman to play a big part in this movie, because a lot of people try to use the complaint of, oh, why even have a team when Superman can just be a one-man army? And I think this ending of the movie
Perfect
definitely
example
explained it.
yeah.
It showed like even kind of the whole thing of Superman the entire time. He has no problem beating Steppenwolf down. He's not going to kill him, but he has no problem beating him down anytime like Steppenwolf keeps just like trying to get up. So that's why you need Aquaman and Wonder Woman, because both characters have shown many times, like not saying they're murderers. They're not going to go out of their way to kill people, but no, they have no problem doing it if they need to. So that's why you need the diverse members of the Justice League. You can't just rely on Superman. And that's what I think they really showed you very well at the very end of this film.
Or Batman. Because, both of them aren't going to kill anybody.
Yeah.
But Wonder Woman, in a heartbeat, will kill you.
If she has to, yeah.
Yeah, if she has to, yeah.
That's one of the reasons why I don't think I even dug the ending of 1984. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, hey, this chick ain't going to stop. And she still let her live. Like, Aquaman is going to kill you. If you threaten what he loves, you are going to die. That's the way it should be. It would make for a lot more powerful villains coming into, the universe. And that's also one of the things that actually gives you a weakness when it comes to Bruce and Clark, which also relates them in a way too, is that they're constantly having to fight against individuals who are their biggest opponents. If you had plenty of opportunities to get rid of them, but because of your code, because of who you are, you keep putting yourself in jeopardy because you won't get rid of this thing. The Joker has had a billion friggin' lines like, if you kill me, this will be done. You wouldn't have these issues. If you would have killed me, you wouldn't have lost all these Robins. You know what I'm saying? Wouldn't have did what I did to Batgirl. Like you'd be cool, but no, So it's interesting because if Superman would have killed Lex, Superman comics would have ended about 50 years ago. I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
It's why I love in the Justice League animated series when you get like the different Earth where the Justice League become evil. I love it. Lex Luthor just straight up calls Superman an ally. He's like, oh, come on, you're like my biggest ally because I know I don't have to face any real consequences for my actions.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at people like Diana too and Arthur, I mean, they definitely are warriors at heart, right? So they definitely have a different mentality and code, certainly kind of going into this. And Wonder Woman had no problem in chopping Homeboy's head off to deliver that message to Darkseid. Like, yeah, man, this if you wanna try and invade Earth, man, we got you covered here. So I love the message that she winds up sending at the end. But you guys make a great point in regards to the idea of how this movie just showcases the idea that, as powerful as Superman is, there is a reason for needing the Justice League, because of the fact that even watching this movie, I wasn't expecting the ending to be the ending that it was. Like, I honestly thought Superman was going to come in, put the beat down, and we're probably going to wrap up this movie. The idea that there's also more consequences that could possibly happen, right? If all the other teams, because you're really relying at this point on Cyborg and the Flash to kind of come through on their part. Superman's doing his thing. This is what we needed him for, to go ahead and take out Steppenwolf. But there's clearly more to solving this problem than just brute force type of thing, right? And so you're really asking these other characters to kind of step up and be heroes, and in a time when even the Flash is brutally injured, him still being able to push forward and tap into the Speed Force and have an epic moment for himself like this in the movie to kind of help this team out. Again, I'm thinking, why is this shit not in the movie, guys? Like, what is going on here? I don't know if it's an issue to go ahead and boost up Superman and make him feel like this is the guy, like he's the one. I don't know if that was what Warner Brothers was trying to do, but for me, what Zack Snyder accomplished was, this is how you put together a superhero team. This is the idea of why everybody is important, like you said, Stuart, as a part of this team, so that we can get to a victory. Everybody is relied on to do their part, and I thought it was just beautifully handled, because you just see the teamwork working together, and then when the Flash does put it all back together for everybody, it's like, man, this is why this team is together. And I really enjoyed it. I don't think Superman lost out on any impact by his other teammates coming in and helping save the day. If anything, it just continued to prove why Superman is needed, and it gives the opportunities for everybody else to certainly shine and do their hero thing also. So I was a big fan of this, man. I was really a big fan of how they wrapped that up.
I agree 110%. I agree how they wrapped it up. I agree. I love how they left it open. You know what I'm saying? Like a cliffhanger without having a cliffhanger to me. Like it could be an ending, but if we're gonna go somewhere, we're gonna leave you wondering about where, you know what I'm saying, this could go for the future. So, and it makes me, I don't know. It makes me feel a little bit different about 1984. You know what I'm saying? Because getting a little bit now and seeing where Diana is developed in this movie compared to what she was then, you ease up on her because you start to remember these are so many years apart. You know what I'm saying? And what she is. By the time you get till now, she's over everything that she's going through in there. You could tell she's a totally different woman. She's aged, she's strengthened, she's a little more battle weary. You know what I'm saying? So it makes it interesting to see what's going to happen. She's on that level of where Bruce is right now, as far as that is, you know what I'm saying, and legacy of being a hero. And in all honesty, you got Clark, Aquaman, and the Flash, who are the newbies, which are two vets, along with Cyborg being a newbie. But it's interesting to me what Zack Snyder did with this film. And if this was the film that would have released back in the day, I don't think you have the Marvel takeover like you had.
I do think Marvel would probably still be where they're at today, but I feel like you would definitely have an injection of maybe new life or enthusiasm for the DCEU and where it was maybe headed after this movie. I mean, it's easy to look at it now compared to then, but still, I mean, I just feel like they probably would have. I just feel like the DCEU probably would have been in a better position than what it is now in regards to it now trying to rebound. I mean, I do like the direction in which it's going. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I like the idea of tapping into the multiverse, being able to have some fun with the Elseworlds. Like, that's a cool concept to me. I just don't know. I think we could have still gotten to that point without as much of a bumpy ride as we've had. Had this particular movie been released. Let me ask you another question. Indy, as far as the things that you didn't like about it, was the slow-mo really the only thing that really kind of got you?
I think they could have. It's some of the flashback story that bothered me. He grew on me by the end of the movie, but I just felt like a lot of stuff could have been done better. The interaction with him and his father didn't seem genuine to me.
Who?
Flash burying his dad. It didn't feel genuine, and that's because, come on, man, John Wesley's ship is amazing. So,
yeah, he is.
Like, but no, to be honest with you, other than that, it was very little. It was some things with some scenes was shot, but it was very little that bothered me, to be totally honest with you. I even love the matchup to Wonder Woman and Clark's powers. You know what I'm saying? When they're facing off one-on-one, what makes you really feel like Diana wasn't serious. She was trying to restrain him. I want to see a serious Diana. You know what I'm saying? Against Superman. Because, you know, she was tanking them headbutts at first. You know what I'm saying? Giving it right back to him. And it allowed him to float in the air and then give her another headbutt. She could have moved. You know, so,
I could have moved.
Yeah, but it wasn't really nothing that really had bad, other than maybe the length. Because I feel like, and the only reason I feel like the movie was this long was because there was way too much slow motion used.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if anything, Captain RGD, what's up, Captain? He says Martian Manhunter versus Supergirl, Martian Manhunter. What did you guys think about the utilization of Martian Manhunter in here? You know, for me, at least, the first sequence that we get of him pretending to be Martha and sitting down with Lois, I really enjoyed that scene. I like that idea of seeing it was Henry Lennox, I believe, who plays Martian Manhunter. Really talking to Lois to try and get her back in the world, considering the fact that she's been grieving for such a long time after the passing of Clark Kent. I like the motivation that it winds up giving Lois to kind of get back out there, and then the reveal that we wind up seeing of Martian Manhunter. So I did really enjoy that sequence. The only sequence that I had an issue with was the very end. I almost felt like that wasn't even needed. Like of him just popping up randomly at Bruce's house to wake him up from his sleep. Like, bro, it's a Sunday afternoon. I'm trying to sleep. Why are you coming over here, Mr. Alien? And like somebody that I read on Twitter was just like, so let me get this straight. Martian Manhunter shows up to tell you he's going to be there for the next battle, even though he just literally watched you guys in a battle and couldn't help out, but he wants to come next time. Next time something happens, let him know. I was just like, yeah, I didn't really care for that scene. But Zack Snyder did say that originally he had that scene to be for Green Lantern, for John Stewart. But Warner Brothers pleaded with him to not do it because of the fact that they have plans for Green Lantern themselves, is what they wind up telling him. So he said, not a problem. He'll go ahead and use Martian Manhunter. What do you think about that final scene? Do you think that it was certainly needed regardless? Yeah, what do you think about the idea that it could have been a John Stewart Green Lantern?
So I actually have the complete opposite opinion of you, because I actually didn't like the ending of the Martha Lois Lane scene, because I actually thought that was genuinely a really sweet moment. And then kind of realizing, oh wow, it was just John Jones manipulating Lois Lane. That's kind of messed up, I think. If I'm being 100% honest, I thought that was kind of messed up for him to do that. But at the end, yes, I will admit that scene was kind of, it did have that kind of thing of it was weird the way it was presented, but I totally get it. I'm pretty sure, because you could tell Ben Affleck looked like he didn't have quite as much muscle, so I'm pretty sure it was a reshoot.
Try a reshoot, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's what that scene was added in there for. But I didn't mind it as much. And in fact, I actually kind of liked a little bit of an attention to detail, is the idea, because this very much does seem like, John Jones, like anytime he's, being introduced to the Justice League for the first time in any like adaptation, he's always very hesitant to trust other people and be vulnerable with them. So when he's with Batman, he says he's going to fight alongside with him, doesn't give him his real name, doesn't even give him his alias that he normally uses of John Jones, just says, I'm the Martian Manhunter, doesn't like tell him his secret identity, and yet he knows Batman's secret identity. He knows all this stuff about Batman, clearly indicating the idea of, oh yeah, I believe I should know all this stuff about you, but you don't really need to know any of the stuff about me. So I thought that actually worked really well, and again, kind of felt in character with Martian Manhunter, but I didn't really like the first scene because it just felt really creepy. Are you still there, or did you freeze up? Oh, and I lost Adam. Okay, so I'll just finish answering this question as to which version I like better. I'm definitely going to go with the Supergirl version, just because it's one that we've seen for so long and we know a lot more about, whereas this version of Martian Manhunter, we've only gotten 2 scenes with, and one of those scenes I was absolutely not the biggest fan of at all. So yeah, definitely going to go with Supergirl. Plus, I actually think the CG looked pretty bad. And again, I get why, because this was all done, for the reshoots, or not even reshoots at this point. This is all just done like post-production. And they didn't actually, this was all done recently is what I should say. So I get why it didn't look very polished, but the fact that in general, the CW version, which has been memed a few times for looking really bad at times on Supergirl, and yet the CW version of Martian Manhunter looks a lot better than the Snyder Cut version of Martian Manhunter, to my opinion. So, for both look and character-wise, I'm definitely going to have to go with Supergirl. And then we got AJ in the house. How is it going, AJ? But guys, I think that wraps it all up. I'm not sure if Adam is going to be able to pop back up in here. He just kind of disconnected, so oh well. But guys, at the end of the day, these are just our A+ opinions. We definitely want to know what you guys think. So definitely let us know in the comments below if you guys enjoyed the Snyder Cut, and also let us know if you actually prefer the Snyder Cut to the Joss Whedon version, or vice versa. Definitely let us know, and let us know why. We definitely want to know. But just remember, guys, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. But of course, above all, keep it A+.
Hey.
I was literally just finished wrapping up. That's funny.
Perfect timing, man. Sorry about that, man. My internet
All right.
wrapped out on.
Never mind. If anyone else is joining, I guess I'll let you say your final thoughts real quick. I was like, literally, my mouse was on the end broadcast button. So since you're back,
perfect timing. Yeah, I was gonna say, Stuart, if you want to wrap up, man, because I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get back in, but I was able to, so that's perfect. Yeah, no. So I mean, I definitely I see what you're saying in regards to the Martian Manhunter stuff. As far as it, maybe being a little bit ingenuine. Like for me, I guess I didn't mind so much, just because I mean, even though I've seen the General and Lois on screen before, I mean, I guess John Jones understands the importance of Lois being out there in the world, and I don't necessarily know if he thinks that maybe she would listen to him as a general per se, unless he showed up as somebody else, right? I mean, granted, maybe he could have just tried to find Martha and be like, "Hey, Martha, can you talk to Lois for a little bit and try and help her out, if you will?" So I get that idea of maybe he could have kind of gone that route, but I guess for me, I didn't necessarily mind it so much. I guess I didn't find it so much as disingenuous as I did just maybe he didn't feel like she would trust him enough. So why not try and at least speak to her with somebody that she would trust, and maybe help kind of get her motivated to get back out there is all.
Yeah. I will say this. I love the way they teased it in the trailer, because they left you really confused, because all they show is
the eyes, right?
With the red eyes. So I'm thinking that had to be like a dream sequence or something. I definitely didn't know what to expect from that. So that was a really unique twist that I didn't see coming.
Yeah, I didn't see that at all too. I think when I saw it in the trailer, I was like, what's going on? Is she mind controlled, or is like something speaking through her or controlling her, whatever the case may be? So yeah, I wasn't expecting for her to turn into the Martian Manhunter, but I'm at least glad that we wind up getting him in the movie, to say the least. I would like more, man. I would like more of what we wind up getting in here. I mean, I know Walter Hamada has mentioned that this is just a cul-de-sac, that it's just, it's a dead end. Zack Snyder has mentioned the idea that he wouldn't mind going on to do kind of other things, but I don't think he's also completely canceled out the idea of it never happening, right? Never say never is what we've kind of learned over the past couple of years here. So maybe there is a world out there where Zack Snyder does in fact return, but I feel like just based off, especially if you just go and look, I don't know if people care or trust about Rotten Tomatoes, but I mean, if you just look at the difference in the percentage of the theatrical cut versus this version of the film, I mean, it's completely almost like night and day. Both certified fresh, or at least as of right now, both on not just the audience but critic score as well. So really well received stuff. And I'm wondering, if you're Warner Brothers, do you pay attention to that? Or do you just continue to go in your direction? You mentioned something earlier, Stuart, the idea of, having him back in some capacity, right? I mean, maybe as an executive producer, we've mentioned that before. Like, if you don't want him to necessarily control everything, at least maybe make him a voice in the office or in the room, a creative consultant or executive producer for some of the movies going forward. And if he wants to maybe direct something, okay, but at least for a creative vision, to have somebody just understand the comic book characters a little bit more. Not to say that people like a Jim Lee don't necessarily get it, but filmmakers, somebody that does have sort of that background of not only being a writer and the director, but also a producer also, to try and figure out how to put all this stuff together as one big universe. So I would like to have him around. Now, whether or not the world is big enough for a Zack Snyder and like a Jeff Johns and to coexist under the same branch, who knows? But I just hope that there's a world out there where there is a Zack Snyder. I was about to say Snack Snyder, Zack Snyder to still be involved.
Yeah, definitely. I would totally be down if because I feel like this would be the one way that Warner Brothers could totally get Ray Fisher back, is have him do a cyborg solo film.
I mean, they probably have to bring back up that Brinks truck for Ray Fisher at this point, based off of everything that this man has kind of been through as of right now. I don't even know what the trust level is with Warner Brothers and Ray Fisher, if he would even come back, unless it's Zack Snyder that's really pushing him to kind of do that, you know. But that's the one thing I loved about this Snyderverse here, or at least for this particular film, is that the exposition that every character got the opportunity to explore. You see their motivations as to why they're doing what they're doing. That just adds so much more depth to these characters, and really kind of makes you pull and root for them by the end of this movie, that they can get this team together and overcome. And the fact that we almost got to see an end result where they aren't victorious was honestly pretty shocking to me. But again, you get to see them be heroes at the end and muscle their way kind of through this. Like I've said this before, Stuart, and I don't know if how people have felt when I've said it or not, but for me, when I finished watching this movie, it's the same feeling I got after watching the Avengers for the first time. You know, while they definitely do hit differently as far as movies go, I don't really like to try and compare them, because I feel like they are just two completely different movies, just based off of length alone and like scope and epicness. But they still managed to do the same thing of being able to make you fall in love with these characters, put some stakes sort of involved in this movie, see them kind of grow as characters and come together and come together in just heroic fashion, and to showcase why they're heroes. That type of stuff just gets me every time, man. So I put this up there with an Avengers level type of movie, and a true superhero a true superhero group movie coming together like in just a masterful sort of way. While I don't necessarily think that it's a perfect film, I still think there's a lot of epicness to it that really hits me when I do watch it. So I put it up there with the Avengers for sure.
I think I would if I had seen this in theaters. I think what made me not have that same feeling that I wish I could have had, watching this movie, is that I already saw the inferior version in theaters. And, so I think just knowing, and it's just being kind of the same, overall, like if you were kind of going by bullet points as to what happens with the plot, being kind of the same movie in that sense. So, even though I really enjoyed it, and I definitely recommend people give it a chance, even if they didn't like the original version of Justice League, I still recommend giving this version a chance. I can't quite say it hit me the same way Avengers did, sadly, and I really wish it could have.
Yeah, and I think for me, I think the absence of me not having seen the Whedon cut in the theatrical version in such a long time, like I don't think I cared to revisit that movie after the first time I saw it on streaming, after its theatrical release. So I maybe have only seen it twice, and that was years ago. So it's been a minute since I've had the opportunity to check it out. So I definitely felt like I went into this a little bit more refreshed. Now, even though I didn't know really what I was going to expect, like even though there are some bullet points of plots that are certainly the same, it didn't make me feel the same, if that makes any sense. Just the way that it was executed in this movie. So it definitely did feel like a fresh take, and definitely added some moments to make me appreciate it certainly a lot more. So it definitely had a renewed sense for me going into this movie. So I think that's probably why it hits me that way. I'm trying to think, anything else off the top of your head that you could think of, Stuart?
No, I think we literally covered every single point that I wanted to get across when talking about this.
Yeah, I think so too. But guys, listen, at the end of the day, we definitely want to go ahead and know your thoughts. What did you guys think about the characters or the villains, the plot details? What did you think of Zack Snyder's Justice League overall? We definitely want to go ahead and know your thoughts. Were you going into this with high expectations? Did you not really care for Zack Snyder's stuff, and now he actually made you care for this movie? I'm really curious to know what you guys thought. So please let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below after this particular video airs. But other than that, Stuart, I think that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for us, sir. If people want to reach out to you on social media, where can they find you at?
You guys can find me at Twitter, on Twitter at TurboStew01.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to follow us on social media, right here at A Plus Opinions, very active over on Facebook as well as Twitter. And you can also catch us on Instagram as well as Twitch for you gamers. But other than that, guys, certainly go ahead and enjoy the rest of your weekend. If you haven't had the opportunity to check out Zack Snyder's Justice League, do yourselves a favor and definitely go ahead and check it out this weekend. But in the meantime, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. And until next time, guys, keep it A plus. We'll talk to you later. Bye.